Yeah, all right. So, yeah, we probably lost a few at the break, and we hope they all come and join us a little bit later, but we want to get started as we only have an hour, or now 50 minutes. Hi, my name's Craig Smith from Europa Property, and we're going to be covering the shopping center sector for Belgrade and for Serbia in the next hour. Really, we're going to focus on development, some opportunities, whatever opportunities potentially for new retailers coming into the market, and then we'll end up with the capital markets and some comments and some information on investor appetite here. So first we'll start with Monica, and if everyone will just quickly introduce themselves, who they are, what company from, anything you want to say, then we'll move on to the questions.
So hello, my name is Monika Alicka. I'm the leasing director for Plaza Centers. I'm responsible for the leasing activities in Poland and Serbia, but for the past 2 years my main focus has been the leasing process of our shopping center here in Belgrade. Currently it's called Big Fashion after the sale to Big C a few months ago. The shopping center was opened in April this year. And this was our second project in Serbia after Kragujevac Plaza.
Okay, great, thank you.
Hi everybody, my name is Peđa Petronijević. I'm a managing director of GC Serbia. We were till recently been known as one of the biggest office developers in Serbia, but now I'm here in a capacity of a developer of a shopping center that is being under construction now in Adamo.
Okay, thanks.
Hello everybody, my name is Uroš Grujić and I'm from Jones Lang LaSalle. I'm part of the capital markets team for Southeast Europe, and we cover all of Southeast Europe from our Belgrade-based office.
Hi, my name is Nikola. I'm the manager for the retail and warehouse for the Collier Serbia. We are doing Serbia, Greece, and Macedonia, and part of the Bosnia from here.
Okay, great. And kind of before we start the questions, just quick hands. Are there any retailers in the room? Any retailers? Raise your hand. Okay, just, you know.
I would say they are still on the terrace. So
a
couple of them,
okay,
you know.
Yeah,
still,
of course,
yeah.
I'm sure they won't leave the terrace for a while.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Developers, any developers in the room? Okay, and one retailer, one developer, good. And and any investors, bankers? One? Okay, good. All right. That's all we need. One retailer, one investor, and one banker. Okay, we'll get going. Right. Okay.
We call it Holy Trinity, you know.
Right. So we got enough to start a shopping center. Nikolai, let's start with you and tell us a little bit about the Serbia shopping center market, how you see it now and going forward.
Well, I would say it's a highly dynamic market at this moment. So there is a couple of projects in the pipeline. Actually, two of them are start already construction. One of them is finishing Rajcev Shopping Center, and of course Sada Mall, which Peđa is representing, coming next year. So there is, I would say, 5 or 6 of them in the pipeline. So let's see what will happen. So for sure we need these projects. So no matter is it retail parks or shopping center park, we are here focused on the shopping centers. So I would say we need them.
Right, because in the past it seems like there's always, or even now, seems like there's enough retailers, just not enough places to put them. Is that correct?
Well, I would say, example for H&M meeting 4 years ago in Vienna. So they told me, Nikola, in 3 years we opened 13 locations in Croatia. In Serbia for 6 years, only 3 locations. So everybody needs the projects.
Right, there's some opportunities. Yeah. And Uroš, can you tell us what your take on the market is at the moment?
Like Nikola said, it's highly dynamic. In the past 2 years, we've seen significant amount of transactions occur, not just in Belgrade, but also in the rest of the countries in Southeast Europe. So we are finally seeing investors consider Southeast Europe and consider Belgrade, which was a difficult task to overcome in the past 10, 15 years, or in that case, forever. So finally, the markets have opened, and the projects that are coming to the market, like GTC Ada, are highly needed. From both a leasing standpoint, but also from an investment standpoint. So we are excited, and we look forward to having more projects in the market. At the same time, This is a story we tell every time. We want to be very cautious. We don't want to overdo it, like significant amount of markets in Southeast Europe did. For instance, Sofia and even Slovenia is as a country, potentially Croatia in some parts. So we want to be very conservative going forward and not overdo it, but at the same time hitting the right spots like GTC did with covering that large catchment area which doesn't have a proper shopping center will do the trick for the market. So.
And just staying on leasing for a while for both the agencies, I mean, is there enough anchor tenants on the market? Is there enough smaller tenants? Is there enough food and beverage? I mean, let's kind of take it category by category.
There is more than enough.
More than enough.
More than enough. Only issues regarding pricing and locations. You know, if we can make the shopping center that everybody's in the ground level, you know, so
If everybody's at the main entrance on the ground level,
to do the full fit out and €5, so and everybody goes on a percentage rent, so there is more than enough tenants at this moment. Yeah.
Absolutely, the markets are there. We're seeing shopping centers, retail parks pre-lease easily. For Rakovica, for instance, Capital Park, they're 100% let, and they have another 6 months to go. And I assume that Peja will touch this as well. They're doing very well with GTC, and it just shows that the market is there, the retailers are there, the investors are there, so it's going towards the right way where it should be. So.
Okay,
Positive
great.
about it.
Excellent, great. And we'll come back to the capital markets in a minute. So Monica, shooting over to the developers. Tell us a little bit. Okay, you've leased most of it, or you're doing the final leasing on your projects now, right? Is that correct?
Right. I mean, when we were opening on 20th of April, the leasing level was 97%. So I think that in itself says something about the situation on the market, that there is huge demand from retailers to enter the Serbian market. We had a number of market entries. In the first reserved store in Serbia will be opened in big fashion in 2 months on an area of almost 2,000 square meters. There were a number of Italian, Greek, Turkish retailers entering. CCC opened their first, I would say, flagship store in Serbia, the biggest store and the first store in Belgrade on more than 800 square meters. So definitely there is enough retailers to fill shopping centers, but there's also even more demand from those who want to enter the market. And for a lot of them, considering entry, I don't think there was a sufficient pipeline before. Because, I mean, if a retailer is considering market entry, they will not enter one location or 2 locations. They need at least a certain pipeline of the main and the biggest cities, and now this is possible in
Right now, there's so
Serbia.
many under construction or in the planning
Exactly.
phase that they're, let's say, probably use in a lot of cases, like you said, used your shopping center as the first to jump off
Right.
with, right? Peja, can you give us a little rundown of your shopping center and how you see it kind of influencing the Belgrade market?
Well, we try to design the shopping center, to design our mall in a way that it's not a big box without the windows and just for shopping purposes. What we see that the trends are all over the world is that you have increased leisure content, you have entertainment, you are trying to make shopping mall more and more as a destination, as a place where people will also have fun, not only to shop. So generally, this is mainly, look, in United States and I think United Kingdom, it's the online sales is taking a big part of the sales. It's still plenty of time until that comes to Serbia and to Belgrade. But I believe that we have to make a new generation mall, something which is more to serve, let's say, people needs rather than just the shopping.
Right.
So it's, and that's why especially we have Ada Lake, which is a famous leisure area of Belgrade. We will try to accommodate the mall into that concept, not only as a shopping.
I mean, the way you've designed it, it looks like the way that all these malls in America are trying to redesign theirs, knock them down and make it more food, beverage, concepts, interesting concepts, more leisure, more casual dining.
Yeah, this is, look, we opened it. We didn't close it. We opened it to the area. There will be a lot of food and beverage. The whole floor actually is dedicated to that part of that industry. We will increase, including the top floor where probably cinema or something else will be. We increase the leisure area to between 12 and 15% of the GLA.
So let's say trying to predict or trying to defend against just pure internet sales of
It
fashion.
will come.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
that's for sure. It will come.
Okay, good. And are you finding the right types of food and beverage concepts to put in these locations? Are they here already, or do you have to bring them from Milan or somewhere like that?
Look, Belgrade is famous for nightlife and restaurants and food.
sure.
So I'm sure that we'll find somebody local here. But what we are trying to do, beside the standard food courts, we'll have the fine dining, couple of fine dining restaurants. We'll also have something like Mercato Centrale in Florence or Mercado San Miguel, like a food market with a small artisan stands. And that's where we'll try to bring the local Belgrade artisan, like, I don't know, Burger House, Turnout. You know, there are a lot of brands here in Belgrade which will fit into this concept and should work like that.
Right. And according to Nicola and Urus and Monica, no problem with leasing. Are you finding anything that let's say that you're missing, that you can't find, a concept or whether it's fashion or food or anything that you're kind of missing and thinking, gosh, we really need this in the country?
Well, look, I'll say there are a lot of retailers here, but if you walk any capital in Central Eastern Europe, not to say the Western Europe, you'll find a lot of brands there which are not even, you know, they don't have a store here or a shop. So I think that there should be a more newcomers here, especially there is a certain pipeline of projects, and we are trying to get these to a bit refresh the offer in the city.
And your shopping center is 35,000, 40,000?
35,000 GLA.
And how does that compare with, let's say, the potential competition around, let's say, in your catchment area, or potential
Look,
catchment
what
area?
we are trying to put a mall which is mainly going to serve to the people of Čukarica and the visitor of Ada Ciganlija. However, I mean, Belgrade is not New York, so it's 10, 15 minutes.
Everyone will come see it, right? Everyone in town will come out.
From one part to the other. So we think that we are mainly making that for this area. There is no competition there.
No one there, yeah.
No one there. We don't think that there will be, because I don't think that it will happen 2006 and 7 in the rest of the Europe, where you had a lot of shopping malls. Everybody built.
Yeah.
I think Zagreb has like 8 or 9 operational and 2 under construction with 800,000 people. So I think that, let's say 5 or 6 you'll have in Belgrade. I think then whoever starts the next one will think twice before they start construction.
They try to build another one,
Yeah.
yeah. Hopefully the bank will think twice before they lend them the money on building another one.
Look, the pie is so big, so
Yeah,
it's not going to grow with a supply of the malls.
Right. And Monica, tell us, because you're working in Poland as well, or we're working in Poland. What are some of the nuances on the leasing side between leasing a shopping center here and leasing in Poland? What are you seeing as the biggest differences?
Well, first of all, Poland is very much already saturated with retail, so it's kind of like a similar situation as Croatia. So here I would still say that it's very much a landlord's market, whereas there it's definitely tenants market. There's not that many new market entries, and if they are, then they go only into the I'd say 2-3 largest cities. So I would say the Polish market is much more established. Tenants are much more careful with the expansion. There's much less new projects, and a lot of the shopping centers are now more about remodeling, repositioning, adding some entertainment function, fitness, expanding the food court. So trying to find a way to compete with the other schemes which are in abundance.
Right, right. Okay, good. And Nicola, what other things are you finding any, or do you see any opportunities for new developers to enter the market? Or how would someone in the audience that's developing, maybe not here yet, is there an opportunity for a developer to come in with some kind of new concepts or new ideas?
Well, I see opportunity for developers, as Peja said, in this modern time, shopping center has to be destination for the fun also, not only shopping, go shopping and go back. So people go with the families. You have some certain shopping centers that lives from 5 p.m. until 10 p.m. So for sure, it's all depending the neighborhood where you are building. So Peja said that their main, let's say, focus is on the people from Čukarica, but I would say that people from Dedinje and Vračar for sure will come, and it's a little bit upscale, with the salaries people that coming. So, and there is a lot of foreigners lives over there. So usually, the husband works in some international company, mother take the kids to the kindergarten or to the school. So she have a free time what to do, to go to the sport, to go to the shopping, or I don't know else what to do. So
Free time and money.
Free time and money,
Good.
So that's the win-win combination for sure. But I see opportunities for developers. We compare here Zagreb, but Zagreb is something about 750, 800,000 people, but the salaries is average, let's say 800 euros. In Serbia, here in Belgrade, is something around always 400 euros, but still great economy in Belgrade, in Serbia is very big, very huge. So I would say it's only depending what some developers are expecting from this project, to get some average rent, 30 euros, 20 euros, 25, maybe not at the start, but maybe to see some opportunities to help somebody. It's always the question when you put 50 or 100 million of euros into the project, then when some retailer come in front of us, you say, listen, you're investing 50,000, 100,000 euros. It's 0.1% what we are investing, You have to pay. There is a bank behind of us, so you need to pay. So we cannot give you without contribution. So I would say in the future, developers, especially the banks, will be more open-minded, to help somebody to enter to the project, because when you open to the project, that comes, really fight what to do, to bring the people from another shopping center, not to visit that, to go to your project and to have a destination as a fun and to spend the money.
Right, so just going straight into project finance then, we've heard a few panels and, some of the banks have said, yes, we're very open, we're ready to finance projects and taking some development, some construction risk. Pedro, we'll start with you. What have you found on the finance side or banking side?
Well, I must say we didn't have an issue with getting the financing. I mean, okay, we have a long history with banks here. GTC is a big international group, so that helped. But also, I think that the banks are keen on financing a proper retail project, because there is a lack of it, and they recognize we had more than few offers. Right,
right. And Monica, your experience or your company's experience on the finance side?
I mean, it was determined by the anchor tenants that were interested, and knowing that we have the interest of H&M, Inditex Group, the supermarket, the cinema secured, and of course we managed to secure it because the bank recognized that it's.
And Uroš, when companies are coming to you and saying, we've got a project, or developers, we've got a project, we need leasing, we need this, we need that, I mean, in the past when I was doing panels, there were, all these entrepreneurs and guys with money were coming saying, yeah, it was great till we went to the bank. And that was the end of the dream, let's say. How are things different here, or how are things changing here that banks are easier to work with or more understanding?
Well, it's going back to the market. The market needs products. Money has never been cheaper. There's a lot of money in banks that needs to be deployed, but at the same time, banks are being more cautious than they were back in 2007 and 2008 when we had the financial crisis. So they are cherry picking the projects that they want to invest in, which is good. But at the same time, the developers that are delivering the projects are doing a very good job. So again, going back to not having the market become too saturated is key. And I think until we maintain the level of demand meeting supply, meaning the equilibrium being at the level where it should be, we're going to be okay with the banks financing the projects. It does help when you have a successful project. It does help when you have a name like GTC. So when you put all that together, you have the right recipe, and that's why the banks are investing heavily now in both offices and retail. So another very important element is liquidity. So if we have a market where you can build something, you can lease something, but at the same time you can't dispose it, this is also something that banks look at. So we've finally opened up the market to retail disposal, but at the same time we are working very hard on opening up the office market and having transactions occur there. And I think we're going to have a successful year regarding that. So going forward, banks are ticking all the boxes when it comes to investment in Serbia and when it comes to deploying capital into the market.
Right. And it always seems like offices are leading the way anyway on investment, yeah, in any market. You always have the office first, and then retail somehow comes second or very close behind them.
I think that's a trend more in the Western world, where you are right. So in the likes of the US, the UK, France, and Germany, that's what happened first. We've seen offices achieve exits. Here, it's been different because retail is preferred by the capital that we're seeing, which is the South African capital, significantly favored. So like I said, we're running out of products when it comes to disposal of retail, but at the same time, we're working very hard to conclude what you were saying and have investors focus on offices, which, in my personal opinion, and I think a lot of the people in this room would agree, is a very good product. Offices are performing very well. Peja, I assume you can confirm this as well. You have 3 or 4 very successful projects and a couple in the pipeline. So going forward, apart from retail, we are going to see offices transact in Southeast Europe.
And so for those that have just come in or just coming into the market, what are some of the say the big projects on retail and on office that you could, let's say the top 3 that you could highlight in both sectors, kind of saying that, hey, this is a more liquid market than it was 3 years ago?
2014, we were able to transact on 33% shares of the MPC retail portfolio. So they have a group where they're set up on an office portfolio and a retail. So that's when it all started. Obviously, Ušće and Delta are the dominant shopping centers, the best performing one, the largest ones. And those are the transactions that achieved the highest volume. At the same time, we are excited and looking forward to GTC ADA. We are looking forward to Rajčeva because I think that'll be an atypical product for the market. And from an office standpoint, I think in general, I wouldn't name any. I don't want anybody to get offended. But majority of the projects that we are seeing on the market from an office standpoint are very similar, quality-wise, location-wise. So I don't think you can choose any specific one and say this one is much better than this one, because at the end of the day, I think they're very similar. Obviously, the tower sticks out because of its size and its history of Ušće. From my understanding, there'll be another one. That automatically makes it a landmark, so it will be something that sticks out literally from the ground and from a perspective standpoint. So apart from that, the other projects more or less are in the same level, obviously with some fine-tuning depending on the technical specification side. But in general, that's where the offices is and the retail I mentioned. So
just like anywhere else, it still comes down to building quality office, quality retail, and there's investors for
Absolutely, and obviously location. So
right.
That's what makes sense.
And Nikolai, what's your perspective on the investment market and how it's going to mature here on retail?
Well, I would say, as I mentioned before, we need the projects not only in Belgrade, so we need the projects. So there is one upcoming project in the Novi Sad from the side of the Nepi in the city center. So there is a big projects, I would say, for that Novi Sad pretty much is enough. So we believe another project that will happen down in the city of Niš. So everybody is now focused on the retail parks, as previous panel said, but people are going to the retail parks because it's cheaper construction and the price level is much cheaper. So, but there is always place for good projects. So, but I would say it one more time, so there has to be open mind from the side of the bankers, then from the side from the investors, to help people to enter to this project. So you have to believe to your project that it will be successful, so that people will work on the end on the percentage rent, so, and that would be a good combination for everybody.
So Pedro, it seems like you're in a pretty good position. You've got a very good located place, very well designed. The timing for leasing is great, and the timing for selling is also doesn't seem to be bad. I'd say, what's your expectations on exit, if you're even thinking about it? I'm sure someone at your company is, yeah? If not you.
Look, everything is for sale for the right price.
Sure,
That's one thing, but actually we are not constructing this and we are not building this to sell straight away. We are building in a way that we are able to hold for a while. But if there would be a willing investor with a right yield, we wouldn't mind discussing that with them. So both options are open, but what we want to do is to do a good quality project, so we can, even if we don't exit, then we can hold on to it without problems.
Holding on to it, you're happy to hold it, happy to exit if it goes that way. Great. If there's any questions from the audience, and I probably would be a few, please, we've got one right here, so we'll start with Nevena. If we've got the microphone guy's coming. He's busy back there making sure our sound is okay, so give him a second, he's coming. Yeah, we're happy to take any questions anytime during the panel.
Thank you. This is a question for the developers and for the consultants. Developing a shopping center is a process, and it took quite a while for Plaza and GTC to start construction. Did the changes in government, so this is a political question, did the changes in government make it easier to get the building permits and to start developing? And also, a second question is, did the changes in government, so the new political party, have they increased the purchasing within shopping centers?
So just the
that's
recent change, you mean?
Not the recent change, it's just since this napredna stranka, is it more easier now to get building permits for shopping centers compared to before? And for the consultants, has the purchasing power increased?
Okay, I'll try to be political there. So, well, changes in the legislation made easier obtaining the building permits. It's generally shorter process.
Since what year? Sorry.
Sorry?
Since what year has it?
Well, I think they changed this 2 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. The objedinjena procedura and electronically and everything. It makes the level of the design required for obtaining all the permits it's much lower, and you're getting it much faster, which is always good for the banks to see the building permit before they start committing or whatever. When you talk to them, it's different when you have a building permit, and it's different when you don't. So I think that the changes in legislation really speed up the whole process.
Monica, were you dealing with the building permits and the?
I mean, we got our building permit was in 2015, so I guess that was, after well, it was a long process of approximately 6 years. So that the new changes didn't really, didn't relate to our project that much. So that was already.
I can discuss from an exit standpoint that there isn't significant change. Majority of the transactions that we did and the way developers like to set it up is to have shares outside of the country where the development is. So typically we sell the PropCo company, which is connected to the HoldCo company, which is obviously majority occasions outside of the country. So from our angle, it's not that important, but from a leasing standpoint.
Well, for the leasing standpoint, I can speak only in the name of the Rajcheva, that I would say we started construction 3 years ago, and I would say there is pretty good cooperation with the city authorities, because we mostly cooperate with them, so on each level.
So just in conclusion, there hasn't been a significant change, even though in the media it is presented so many developers started construction. So I was just, wondering whether, their political party has.
Don't look me, ask developers, please.
All right. But okay, you did say 2 years ago the process has become easier. So yeah, and the purchasing power, has it increased? Like our shopping centers recently, has the purchasing power increased in the recent years? To be more specific.
Well, from the point of view of the retailers, I can see there is a lot of upside and downs, regarding the periods in the year when somebody is spending the money. So, but as I can see, each retailer is aiming to open the new location, so that means that they have a good sales.
They must be doing well in their current locations. Edge, are you getting some new retailers coming that have not yet entered the market that are calling you and saying, "Oh, we're interested in starting with your shopping center"? And if so, what types are looking?
Look, we do have a more than few retailers asking around. We got through them through our malls in Croatia or Poland, where we are present, or again we are working with most of the agencies here. So there are a lot of interested companies, mainly in fashion.
Okay.
Because this is the biggest portion of the mall, so naturally it's
And they're not here yet.
they're not here yet.
Okay.
So we will announce hopefully soon a couple of names.
New entries. into
Yes,
the
new
mall.
entries on the market.
So Monica, what are some of the new retailers that you got into the market that weren't here before?
I think the biggest, say, market entry will be LPP Group.
Okay.
Also for the shoe sector, CCC, as I mentioned before, with a store of 800 square meters.
And is LPP, are they bringing all the brands here, or what is their plan?
To our shopping center, to Big Fashion, they brought Reserved.
Okay.
But from what I know from them, yes, they have plans to add other brands from the portfolio. So in Poland, they operate with 5 fashion brands, and they also have 2 home decor textile brands. And then on top of that, there were a number of, let's say, small to medium-sized stores from the lingerie sector. Calcedonia Group opened the first Deseni store in Serbia, which generated a lot of interest. From Greece, we had 2 new concepts. It was Funky Buddha, which is also a fashion retailer, and Oxet, which is a jewelry store, a bit similar to Pandora, maybe the concept. A number of Croatian also retailers. We have on 2 levels LCY Kiki store. Of course, it wasn't the market entry, but it's one of their bigger stores on the market here. So yeah, definitely a lot of interesting new stores, and this is what we were aiming for, to differentiate it from the other shopping centers, and to make sure that it's interesting for customers to come to.
Nicola, what about some of the other cities? Which ones would you, if you're talking to retailers or developers too, which one would you prioritize for them to enter?
Well, I would say Novi Sad, Niš, and Čačak. That would be my main focus for them to enter, and Subotica.
Right, and how is is there a lot of interest to go into those cities now, or is everyone focusing on Belgrade?
Well, everyone would like first to open the shop in Belgrade, so they're aiming Ušće or Delta City as a jewel, first to enter, then to see how the sales will go, and then to see how to spread all around the Serbia. So, but the good news is that they are overlooking also as a region. So the base, let's say, would be the Belgrade. So the headquarters established here, all the company, everything, forwarding company and everything to settle down here. So they are looking the region then to expand Bosnia, Montenegro, Macedonia, so Albania even. So it's good to know that we are first one in the row.
Right, starting here and then
to spread, yeah.
Working from there, right? So, Uroš, tell us a little. Coming back to the finance or to the capital markets and exiting. What are the expectations of? I mean, you always hear about the South Africans investing, but are you getting a lot of this? Any of this? And Austrians as well. But are you hearing from the other funds, the German-ended fund, the German kind of closed-ended funds, and or open-ended funds? That are they looking at this market yet, or?
To be Very honest, no.
Okay.
Unfortunately. Here and there, we do get a requirement. We are getting a lot of questions. People are analyzing Southeast Europe. At the end of the day, the perception is what stops typical institutional investors coming in to Southeast Europe and Serbia and Croatia. But at the same time, it's apart from the perception, it's the size. That's
Right.
an issue because
Just too small for them.
too
yeah.
small for them. When an investor or a fund comes in here, their idea is to get critical mass. And here they simply cannot do it. So why the South Africans have been so aggressive is because of that. Apart from having political issues back home, their currency devaluating, and the market being oversaturated, they've decided to come into Southeast Europe as innovators, and they have done a very good job. At the same time, they were able to create that critical mass, and a lot of the funds are doing strategic acquisitions where they're not basing their acquisitions just on one country, but rather the entire region, and that's how they're getting the mass. And it's very simple. Because of the Western funds or the institutional names, the Blackstones, the Starwoods, et cetera, are not considering Southeast Europe, and because of Central and Eastern, but not to mention Western Europe becoming very expensive, they said, why don't we look at Southeast Europe, because we are ready to take the country risk, which to them doesn't seem that big, or market risk for that matter. So long story short, no, not too many big names are looking to come in here, stay long-term. They are looking to potentially flip it, whether they're looking at NPL portfolios or assets that they can buy at 9%, wait for yield compression, and then exit to South Africans in 12 to 18 to 24 months. Croatia is one of those places. And I think Bulgaria this year will have a tremendous amount of transactions where Western or institutional funds have invested in the past.
Right. I mean, Bulgaria's already, just sold 2 shopping centers.
Absolutely, yeah.
And more to come, it seems.
Absolutely, yeah.
So here you think it'll generally be kind of business as usual, where the South Africans just keep buying up the product as it's available?
I believe so. At the same time, like we mentioned earlier, they are running out of stock or running out of product for retail. So we are playing we are focusing with them on sidetracking their current strategy and saying, look, there is offices, they are performing well. Don't be so scared on offices like you are back home. And they are terrified of offices back home.
Well, they've got a few empty floors in most of their portfolios,
Yeah,
so that
yeah,
could be part of the problem.
And they see it as a very challenging asset to manage, because every 4 years you'll have tenants playing musical chairs and trying to relocate from one asset to another, try to negotiate better terms with landlords, and are taking advantages of new products. While a shopping center, if it's dominant, if it's at the right location, and if it's performing well, meaning if it's ticking all the boxes, it'll stay dominant long-term, 5, 7, 10 years. And this is what they like. They like the income. Like GTC, they have to pay dividends, so they're dividend-driven, and this is the main reason why they're focusing on retail.
Right. And I guess the Western investors just will never get the enough product if it's just being bought up anyway and held until.
We're hoping for cycle 2 and 3, which, for instance, Prague is witnessing. Our colleagues in Prague traded the park, which is the second largest business park in Central and East Europe, for the 5th time now. 5 times it's changed owners in the course of maybe 10 years. And the yield keeps decompressing, and it's just at a totally different level. And we're hoping to see that, but will it happen? I don't know.
Right. I guess if the owners have other places to put their money,
Yeah,
then that also helps.
yeah,
So.
definitely.
Nicola, so what is your thoughts on the investment market and how and any new investors coming in, calling you guys, looking at product?
Well, we have a couple of them, so but they're mainly also for the Western Europe. We have from the Austria, so and we have a couple of them also from the England, overlooking this market. So it's interesting market for them. So especially doing the exclusive sales of one hotel here in Belgrade. So they're overlooking the market. So they are searching for the opportunities for sure. So is it right opportunity for them? We will see.
Right, so they're also on the hotels, on the real estate
course,
part of the
yeah,
hotel,
yeah.
yep. Yeah, good, good. All right, any questions from the audience? Well, any more questions from the audience, I'll say. Oh, okay, so one more question in front. Over here in the front, Nevena. Yeah, but then they can't interpret, or they can't translate it, so they need it. They need it for the translation.
Thank you, sorry. Which tenants are now generating the biggest footfall in shopping centers? Are they restaurants, supermarkets, or something else?
I think, first of all, the fashion sector is the key element, since most shoppers are women. So definitely the fashion offer is key. Also, it's important to have a developed leisure, entertainment, and food court section. So, for example, in Big Fashion, we dedicated the whole upper level of the shopping center to this function. So there's a food court, cinema, slot club, children's playground, bookstore. Also, I think from observations from our shopping centers in Poland, it's very important to have a proper service zone, because this ensures that people can really take care of all their, let's say, weekly shopping needs and household, let's say, chores.
In Plaza now, which retailer you got impressed with, with how much turnover they have had? Which retailer was?
Well, I mean, in Big Fashion, it's still early days, so it's the first 2 months. Again, I would say I think the biggest, let's say, the ones I could say I was impressed with were the fashion ones, beginning.
Can I answer that in December next year?
Yes, you can.
That's the
The consultants, what do you think? Which retailers are now, driving visitors to the shopping center?
Well, of course, you always have the anchors, that attract people to come. But I would say that the right mix is something that is highly important. So it's not important to have 90% of the fashion or to have a huge supermarket, which is for daily use. But the most important issue is the right mix and the property management of the shopping center. So, and as Uroš said, he said location, location, location. I would say it's also the parking is one of the most important issue for the shopping center, and it's the right mix that you have needs for everybody who come to the shopping center.
In front, there's a presentation of Belgrade Waterfront, their shopping center, and when I had a discussion with them, they said that restaurants are now quite big drivers, and what they're going to do, they're going to create restaurants not within the shopping center, but also outside. So do you agree that restaurants are becoming quite strong tenants for shopping centers? And do you agree for restaurants to also have entrance from the outside to drive people inside?
I do not agree with that. So it's
You don't
very
agree with
important.
that?
Yeah, it's very important to come to see the shopping center. So I can say, for example, for Rajčev shopping center, we have exchange office on the -1 level and on the 2nd level. So the toilets are on the -1, 2nd, and the 3rd level. So it's very important, to combine each aspect that somebody would like to come to the shopping center to be inside. So to having the outside.
No?
For me,
We have Westfield in London. They have these restaurants outside. They bring people in. Maybe it's a new trend that's going to come into Serbia. I just wanted to see your opinion. So
it's a London.
yeah, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. 10 million people. I guess some can come in from the outside, right?
And 10 million of the tourists, weekly.
Yeah.
So
Sure. So is there anyone in the audience that's actively looking for retail to purchase in Serbia or Southeastern Europe? Hands? Anyone looking to buy retail? Anyone looking to expand their retailer operations in
Don't
Serbia?
be shy.
Central
Please
Eastern
raise your
Europe?
hand.
What's that?
Please raise your hand if so.
That's
We
right.
can spot you.
Retail, yeah, then we'll be doing half their job already. Retailers looking to expand, no, no. Investors looking to invest, bankers, there's a couple bankers here. So what are they all doing if they're not, okay, and developers, any developers for retail? All right, good, thank God, okay, there's a developer, yeah, that's right, okay. So anyway, we just to sort of, we're kind of really to move, so everyone's in the service provider business almost. Raise your hand. Okay. You're a service provider. You're providing great service. Okay, and for the investors that are in the audience not raising their hands, okay, also fair enough. So I think we'll wrap up this panel a little bit just by getting some final comments from the panel. And Nicola, maybe we'll start with you. Any kind of pearls of wisdom or final comments or things that you think we missed that we should touch on?
Well, I would say there is a very big and good future regarding retail and shopping centers, not only in Belgrade, in Serbia. So, unfortunately, a lot of investors are focused on the retail parks, but I would say there is a lot of space for new developments from the side of the shopping centers.
So retail parks, shopping centers.
Shopping centers, yeah.
In general, I think we just need to be positive about everything because the past 20, 25 years, we were frozen as an economy, and I think the perception that we've sent out and how people see us is what held us back. I think the more we communicate, the more we are positive, that's going to bring investors, it's going to bring retailers, it's going to bring financing, and it's just trying to change that perception. I see that as the biggest thing when we are speaking to investors. They have a lot of questions. They are just, in general, scared about Southeast Europe, and they're now finally willing to ask questions and consider. So we just need to stay positive, send the right message, and I think we're on the right track.
So you're talking about Western European investors or American
yeah.
investors, and what?
Yeah.
I mean, what is their perception? What are they telling you? Like, oh, this is not a good place to invest because they saw something on CNN, or what is their perception?
It goes down to that, yeah. It's the basics. It's the ABCs where they see something happening in Belgrade, or they see the situation in the parliament in Macedonia. They see the issues that are happening with the immigrants, or the situation that occurred here in Southeast Europe when they were bypassing. So all of these things and the size has a big impact on the perception. So I think it's just, we need to keep digging hard, and we need to keep staying positive and doing the right things in order to have a.
I mean, that's similar in a lot of countries and cities as well, right? You saw in Bucharest, they had half the nation was protesting because they were trying to pass laws to make corruption legal, or in Poland there's something happening, and you got the president throwing the EU flag off the couch. So I mean, I think a lot of cities are also having, and that's what of course ends up on TV. Yeah.
And you are correct, and that does happen, but it happens in Southeast Europe, unfortunately. You don't see that. Of course, you have issues in the Czech Republic and in Slovakia and in Poland, but less. And people like it there, and they go there. In the past 20 years, Poland was able to progress economically, socially, politically, which we weren't. And in general, not just Serbia, but Croatia had its issues, Slovenia had its issues, and even Romania. Everybody's talking about Romania, but from an investment standpoint, I'm not seeing too many transactions there. And I know the market is not that hot. Everybody's kind of quiet. They are talking about it from a size standpoint, and they are saying that it's going to be the next Poland, but that hasn't been the case. So you are right. It's Southeast Europe and how the things that are happening here.
So we just have to come up with some good news for them to report.
Absolutely. We just need to, we have to have good news and positive messages.
Right.
And obviously work hard, but.
Yeah, that's always in every market probably.
Yeah.
Pedro, can you give us some?
Well, I'm glad that the market here is showing, let's say, a sense. So you can see there is a sustainable development. You don't have like 10, 15 malls jumping, or real estate developments like mushrooms. You have a lot of discussions in the pipeline in this, but actually the ones that are being constructed are nicely distributed over the city, which is always good for the market. It's good for the developers. maybe not for the future investors, but for the developers, yes. Because you will get a good quality products, the one that are being done eventually. You'll get a really good quality products, which are going to help the market and help the economy. So this is something which I'm glad I can see that's going on.
And kind of unusual, isn't it? I mean, if you're looking at, for example, GTC, where all the countries you've been in, I mean, there's been loads of malls that people have said they're going to deliver, or...
Look, we've done our share of mistakes, don't worry.
No, I
about
wasn't
it.
saying that,
was
just that you've seen that.
We had this, but I'm glad that you don't see that now in Belgrade.
So is that because of the great, architectural, control over the city from the city government that's putting a stop to it, or is it?
Look, it's more economy driven, because Belgrade cannot sustain 10 malls. They can sustain 5, 6. This is what I think, and that's what I mentioned previously. Once this is being done, everybody will think twice before jumping in, and because of the financing, retailers, everything. I don't see a anchor retailer opening 2 huge stores within 1 kilometer distance. So that's
everyone's using some common sense,
Yeah,
or at least some people, some of them are. Good. Okay. And Monica, any final comments or?
Well, I think the next few years will be very interesting for the retail sector in Serbia, because a lot of the projects that were being prepared or talked about have finally either materialized or will start being developed soon. Even this year, aside of course from the retail parks, there was the opening of Big Fashion. IKEA will open soon, Rajeva, then Adam Mall, the NAPI project in Novi Sad. Also, it will be interesting to see which retailers finally decide to enter, with what type of formats, which concepts will be good for the market. So I think there's a lot going on, and it'll be interesting to observe, especially from a leasing point of view.
All right, great. Well, our hour went extremely fast. I know we're breaking, Alex is giving me the signal to cut it, so I'd like to thank our panelists, and please give them a round of applause. And great job. And we'll